Welcome to Global Tax Talks Tax in 60 Seconds. I'm Will Morris, and it's good to be back after a great break for much of August. And I hope that many of you also got to spend some time with family or friends. When I last spoke to you 5 weeks ago, it looked like we might be on the path to the so-called side-by-side solution on Pillar 2, whereby guilty would coexist with Pillar 2. It also looked like the EU and the US were headed towards a trade agreement that would reduce tariff tensions. And there were rumours that Pillar 1 Amount A work continued. Mild skeptic that I am, I did raise a number of caveats to this rosy scenario. But at the end of July, the tax weather looked more settled than it had for a while. So on September 1, where do we stand? Well, the weather may have turned again with some developments last week, some of which we know about through some leaked documents that made their way into the tax press, and some via social media. On the Pillar 2 side-by-side agreement, a leaked OECD document appeared to show that a number of major countries had significant concerns with the concept, or with the finer details, or for some other reason. Enough to sink it? Well, perhaps not. Enough to turn it into a very long process, which some unreasonably suspicious minds always worried about? Quite possibly. Countries, including 4 from the G7, expressed concern about how this would give US businesses a competitive advantage versus non-US businesses that still had to comply with Pillar 2. And another jurisdiction that has not itself adopted Pillar 2 said that the plan violated the principle of fair competition, and that the solution should ensure that equal treatment be given in similar circumstances. Now, other countries expressed concern that the agreement would threaten the integrity of the global minimum tax regime, and still others said that the agreement threatened countries' tax sovereignty. To quote just one on that, open quotes, countries have the right to determine how much tax is imposed on income that is sourced in their country or derived by residents. I have to point out, however, that this is precisely what the UTPR does not do. At the same time, the QDMTT, which is not in the scope of the side-by-side agreement, precisely does allow countries to tax income arising in their jurisdiction. Ah well. So it seems that the parties are not yet all of one mind on this, and an impasse is possible. There will be meetings in early September to discuss all this, but I would not be surprised to hear rumours of US Section 899 resurface if there is not measurable progress then. Then, on social media last Tuesday, President Trump launched a broadside against digital taxes, digital services legislation, and digital services regulations that are designed to harm or discriminate against US tech companies. To the extent these issues are not resolved, Mr. Trump said, substantial additional tariffs will be forthcoming. Now, there are 2 possible headaches. First, DSTS. A number of EU countries have said they won't withdraw their DSTs, and indeed Poland and the Slovak Republic are working on introducing their own, so there could be a tariff clash coming on that. But headache number 2 may be even more important. The reference to digital legislation and regs seems aimed at the EU Digital Markets Act and Digital Services Act, which some tech companies have claimed effectively impose free speech restrictions and other regulatory burdens. The EU thought these issues had been carved out of the US-EU trade deal, so last week they responded forcefully, saying whatever else may be up for negotiation, the DSA and the DMA were not. So what happens? Well, it's possible the US-EU trade deal doesn't come into being, and/or the US raises tariffs above the 15% level, which might trigger EU retaliation. If that happens, I really wouldn't be betting on a speedy side-by-side Pillar 2 agreement. So, welcome back as summer fades into autumn/fall with clouds once again on the horizon. We'll be closely following this, and next week I'll also cover the UN. So tune in again to make sure that you are global tax ready.